Welcome back to Sim Sunday and welcome to another episode in our Bucket and Spade series. As you can see today, we're in Amsterdam, Schiphol, in the gorgeous livery of TUI Netherlands. And as you can see in this episode, we're going long haul in our Bucket and Spade series as we travel from here in Amsterdam, Schiphol, across to the gorgeous Dutch Caribbean island of Aruba. While TUI Netherlands fly this route about 3 days a week, KLM do this route nearly every day with one stop at Bonaire in an Airbus A330-300. Because I'm scheduled to fly an Airbus A330-300 in the livery of Virgin Atlantic from Heathrow to Antigua in a future episode of our Bucket and Spade series, I thought this was an awesome opportunity to fly the 787-8 in the gorgeous colours of TUI Netherlands. Jumping straight into SimBrief, it's a fairly direct service, departing on runway 27 here at Schiphol and then heading across the lower part of the North Sea towards the Essex coast, overhead London before travelling west to South Wales. Our initial cruise altitude will be 36,000 feet before climbing to 380, then 400 and finally 42,000 feet as we approach the coastline of San Juan, with a flight time somewhere between 9.5 and 10 hours. Right, back in the cockpit, it's time to fire up the APU. I've completed all of the pre-flight checks, inputted all of the flight plan into the FMC, so we're ready to go on this transatlantic Bucket and Spade flight from Amsterdam across to Aruba.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just closed the main cabin door. All personal cellular telephones must be turned off and stowed for the duration of the flight. Flight attendants, prepare doors for departure, cross-jack, and verify straps.
Orange Train 6 Train Heavy is cleared to Dietrich Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain altitude 12,000. Departure frequency is 118.075, squawk 1224.
Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brakes. Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Around the flight deck.
Go ahead for cockpit.
Cleared to start engines.
Taxi, hold short runway 27, using taxiway Alpha 10, Alpha 11, Bravo, Echo, 4, November 1, Orange Street 6 Street Heavy. Taxiing, hold short runway 24 via taxiway Alpha 4, Bravo.
As we make the very long taxi from the D gates at Schiphol over to the active runway, which today for us is 27, it's time to tell you about the scenery that I have installed for this flight. Here at Amsterdam, we're using FlyTampa for Schiphol, and I have to say that FlyTampa makes some really good scenery for Prepared 3D version 4.5. And when we finally make it across the Atlantic, you're going to see Tropicalsim Aruba. And as we approach the active holding area for runway 27, you can see there are a couple of aircraft ahead of us waiting to depart. And because runway 27 is also being used for landings, lengthy delays while waiting to depart have to be expected.
Delta 57, hold short, runway 27, traffic is Airbus. Orange Train 6 Train Heavy, hold short, runway 27, traffic is Airbus on the runway. Orange Train 6 Train Heavy, flying up and wait, runway 27, flying up and wait, Orange Train 6 Train Heavy. Delta 57.
Approaching.
Contact
2,
all departure
7.
118.075. Over 211.075. Delta 575.
On runway 27.
Runway 27, service wind 240 at 15.
Check thrust. Thrust set. 80 knots. Checked. B1. Rotate. B2. Positive rate. Gear up.
Your engine is climbing through 1,500 for altitude. 10,000. Delta 57. Contact Amsterdam control point 119.175. Europa 1098. All departure, Roger. Altimeter 2.
With our flight underway,
Overshoot 127.025. Europa 1098. KLM 5 control, Roger. Altimeter 297. Amsterdam control.
Some of you may be wondering what the call sign is that we're using today. The call sign is Orange 363. I know that it may not sound like it, but it definitely is Orange 363. Orange, of course, being the call sign for TUI Netherlands. With the Dreamliner being an extremely modern composite aircraft, the ability to fly higher and to get to that higher altitude faster is available to you. So even with two very full fuel tanks in the wings and a centre fuel tank at about 30% capacity, I was able to climb to 38,000 feet overhead the south of England. However, I'll come back to you at points throughout this flight and explain some step climbs as we cross the Atlantic Ocean. As we burn off fuel and as the aircraft gets lighter, we're able to climb to a higher altitude where the air is thinner, and with thinner air comes less friction on the airframe, which means that the aircraft can fly just as fast at around 0.838 times the speed of sound, in this case, but using less power to maintain the same speed. The VNAV page on the FMC also provides all of the information you require to make a decision on whether to climb higher, and as a result save more fuel. In this case, the FMC is showing a maximum cruise altitude of just under 41,000 feet, but it also recommends an altitude of flight level 398. So while talking to Shandwick ATC, I request a higher altitude of flight level 400 or 40,000 feet. I'll come back a little bit later when I do my next step climb to flight level 420 or 42,000 feet overhead San Juan. And while in video terms that's only going to be a few minutes, while in the real world it was nearly 7 hours. Just under 100 nautical miles northeast of San Juan in the northeastern Caribbean, we've got 21 tons of fuel left. However, looking at the VNAV page on the FMC, if we continue at our current altitude and speed, which of course is flight level 400 or 40,000 feet, we'll arrive in Aruba with 14.9 metric tons of fuel left in our tanks. However, watch what happens when I tell the FMC that I'm going to do a step climb to flight level 420 or 42,000 feet and then hit the activate button. You can see that the FMC recalculates our landing fuel weight at 15.1 metric tons. I know what you're thinking, guys, with just over 90 minutes left of the flight, 200 kilograms is nothing. However, if you add those 200 kilograms to all of the fuel saved across the entire fleet of TUI Netherlands in a year, it does add up to be quite a lot. Then take a larger airline like British Airways, KLM, Air France, American, Delta and so on, and that small step climb towards the end of the flight does add up to be rather a lot of money when fuel is your second largest cost in any airline. I was always taught by my parents that look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves, and I guess that is exactly the same in the airline industry. As we reach the top of descent, you can clearly see the Dutch Antilles islands of Bonaire, Curaçao, and of course our destination, Aruba. We're going to be vectored to an ILS approach into runway 11 this afternoon. So I'm going to shut up now and enjoy the approach into Aruba in my favourite virtual aircraft, of course the Qualitywings 787 Dreamliner, in this case the 787-8 of TUI Netherlands.
Tower, Orange Street, 6th Street Heavy is 2-4 miles northwest inbound ILS. Runway 11 approach, Orange Street, 6th Street Heavy, Addons Tower. Continue, runway 11, altimeter 2985.
Ladies and gentlemen, in preparation for landing, please return all seat backs and tray tables to their upright and stowed position. Ensure all portable electronic devices are turned off and stow all carry-on items. Additionally, footrests and video monitors must be returned to their original position. Thank you.
Orange Street, 6th Street Heavy, cleared to land. Runway 11. Follow the aircraft on final. Cleared to land at airport as filed. Fly run. Beatrix Tower, Orange Street, 6th Street Heavy is going in.
I hope that you all agree with me that there was simply no point continuing that approach. The aircraft in front of me was less than 2 miles away, and it was a GA aircraft, I believe a small piston aircraft, so moving very slowly. And as a result, I felt it was unsafe to continue, so I decided to break off my approach early and go around and try it all again. So let's jump forward to my second attempt at landing this Qualitywings 787-8 of TUI Netherlands livery in Aruba.
Over 2124.1. Beatrix Tower, Orange Street, 6th Street Heavy is 20 miles. Orange Street, 6th Street Heavy, Beatrix Tower. Continue, runway 11. Continued approach, runway 11. Orange Street, 6th Street Heavy. Cleared to land. Runway 11, Orange Street, 6th Street Heavy.
Approaching. 1.
Approaching minimums. Minimums. 200. $100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be taxiing for the next few minutes, so please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the captain turns off the fasten seatbelt sign.
That certainly wasn't my best landing in the Qualitywings Dreamliner. Being completely honest, I forgot to double click on the autopilot release, so it didn't release on the first push, causing me to overcompensate on the final part of flight. I guess that's sort of how it goes in flight sim when you're not a professional pilot. Anyway, it's time to switch off the TCAS, switch on the APU, kill the landing lights, and of course the pulsating beacon before turning on the taxi lights, and getting this Boeing Dreamliner over to the terminal and our passengers deplaned. It's also time to bring this episode of Sim Sunday to a close. I know that it has been a slightly longer video this week, but I did want to explain a little bit more about step climbing during longer transatlantic flights like this one. Anyway, we hope you've enjoyed this video as part of our Bucket and Spade series, where the real Airbus pilot and I are recreating, or should I say trying to recreate, popular holiday flights in flight sim. So until the next video when we're back in X-Plane, thank you very much for watching, and whenever you're flying in your virtual world, don't forget to fly safe.